The NATP Taxposium keynote speaker Kight began his musical journey as a classical violinist. But when his mother became ill, he paused to examine his path and desire to live with no regrets. And as a result, was inspired to start composing his music. In this process, he began to see how music composition is, in many ways, a metaphor for one's life and work. Ask yourself, are you writing new music or just playing the notes you were handed?
The reason I love music as a metaphor is because it's both the technical and the emotional, right? So we can talk about having this music that affects the soul, right? But if your instrument isn't in tune and you don't actually know how to play the techniques, then none of that means a thing, right? And so it's expanding the role. I think sometimes we think of balance as just something for the individual to achieve, but really it's something for the collective to achieve. And so the folks that are really dedicated to the details, the black and white, hitting the right notes, that allows for all these other artistic endeavors that as tax professionals, the folks that they're supporting allows people like me to kind of take risks and chances knowing that we're supported. And so I think at first it's kind of expanding this role of balance and seeing that care for the black and white, the technical is just as important, if not more important than like these high level creative visions, because this is like the actual vehicle that's going to allow it to exist. Mm-hmm. And so I think kind of seeing it for the value and the beauty that it has rather than what it's not is, I think most important. So this idea of composing one's life. So composing comes in three steps of composing. There's like the imagination phase, right? Exploring the ideas, and there's the revision, editing the ideas back. But then there's the transcription, and that's when the composer takes all the notes in their heads and puts them into a language, the notes that a specific performer can play. And when a composer is breaking down the notes into these different languages, you'll notice that like the cello has a different set of constraints than the violin does, right? And so there's certain parts that a cello can play, but if it's written really for violin, like it's not really going to sound the best. So the cello can reach to the end of the instrument to play the notes, but it's not really built for that. Mm-hmm. And so I think something to think about as we compose our lives is, what are we built for versus what do we have the capacity for, right? So oftentimes when we're creating our own plans or creating our own visions, we create plans that are kind of punitive because they require us to be something different than we naturally are, right? Mm-hmm. And so we see that, we have the capacity to do something. We potentially can do that rather than really examining and understanding, like, what are we built for? So for example, the project I just mentioned, the late night tea house that I opened, there's people in there all the time, right? I'm an extreme introvert, but I have the capacity, I go on stage a lot, so I have the capacity to talk to people, but I'm not built for that. And so my business partner, she does a lot of that because she's built for it. And so if we talk about like, how do we decrease the stress that comes with like composing our lives? It's really designing for what we're built for and understanding that when we accept certain limitations, it's actually a form of empowerment because we get to align ourselves with something that's actually sustainable and not something that's going to punish ourselves just for being who we are over time. And so, yeah, how can we compose for who we're built for? I think is an important idea as we're looking for new opportunities.
Join the journey of inspiration with our keynote speaker, Kight. He will be kicking off Taxposium on Monday, July 25th at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. For more information, visit taxposium.com.